Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday, I mean it's time for Hello Dave, and we're gonna start this week out with some news in Elite Dangerous about the update that was supposed to come out today, but has been delayed. So Frontier announced that they were going to push out update 14.02, and originally it was supposed to come out today, but they then mentioned on Twitter that they were gonna have to push it back. And as far as I know, there has not been a new date announced. So far it has been pushed back, well, until Frontier fixes it. I'm not expecting it to take long when they push it back. It's usually because there's a few things that they wanted to get into the patch that's not quite working. And as I've talked about a million times before, I would much rather have the Frontier pushes patches back than that they push a patch out to us that's then full of bugs with stuff that doesn't work. But what is supposed to come in this patch of notable changes is that we are going to get more actions to take against the Thargoids that's going to contribute to this pushback bar, so to progress towards fighting against the Thargoids. What these more actions is, I don't know. I mean, at the moment we can hunt Thargoids, so we can go and shoot them. That's both scouts and interceptors. We can do passenger missions where we can save people out of the stations, and there are some trade missions where we can ferry goods in and out. What other actions Frontier is going to add has not really been elaborated upon as far as I know, so we'll have to wait and see. There's going to be a lot more in the patch as well, and that they're going to announce later when we get the full patch note for the update. They said they're also going to make some improvements to the UI regarding, again, the Thargoid war to make it more intuitive, exactly what you can do and what kind of impact it's going to have on that progress bar. So there's going to be some UI, some visual changes, and there's also going to be some gameplay changes with some additional things we can. Over in Star Citizen, in the 3.18 PTU, there's been a number of ships added to the in-game shops. We're talking about the Centurion, the C8R, this is the new medical Pisces, I think, if I remember correctly. Wow. Cutter, Corsair, and the Mule, the surface cargo vehicle thing. That's being added in. Interesting though that the medical Pisces and the Cutter, both ships that you get in the starter packs. Okay, you actually get the medical Pisces as a starter pack? I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me on that. At least the Cutter you can get as a starter pack. That they're going straight into the store. Usually they would stick around for a patch, and then it'll only be added in a subsequent patch. They haven't really been in the store for that long, in the money store for that long, so they've gone into the in-game store quite quickly, which is interesting. They have said that there's also going to be other ships later that's going to be added to the in-game store. Haven't been added yet, but they're going to come later in the PTU. So it's still going to be 3.18, but it's just going to be later down the line where we're going to have the Scorpius, the Hull A, and the Grey Cat STV, which is this new buggy we got from Grey Cat. So lots of new toys, not to lose, new ships to play with in update 3.18 that we can go and buy for in-game money. Of other changes that's also coming in 3.18 is some changes for you guys playing Star Citizens on ultrawide monitors. I personally only play at like standard 16:9 aspect ratio, so I didn't know that this was an issue. But apparently there has been some scaling issues with the field. I think a field of view slider wouldn't work, and there seems to have been some issues with that. If you were playing on a ultra-wide monitor, that should now have been addressed in the 3.18 PTU. So when that goes live, you should see those changes move over. There is still some UI issues. Some of the menus doesn't really scale properly on ultra-wides, and CIG has said that they're not going to focus on that in this patch because they want to address that when they do the new building block updates, where all the UI is going to be made out of building blocks instead of being the way it is now. So there's going to be some UI overhauls, and when that overhaul comes in, they're going to be fixing if there's any scaling issues with UI across different monitor aspect ratios. CIG has also been talking about what is coming with the 3.19 patch, something we haven't really heard much of as of yet, but there's going to be a 3.19 patch at some point. I'm expecting the PTU for that's going to be like 3 months away, so like summer maybe before we see that. But we're going to get a lot more crashes, or well, crash sites to be more precise. They're going to add more crash sites around the Stanton system. And these crash sites are going to be divided into, first of all, of course, different ships. So you have different ships that can be crashed. They're going to expand the different ship types. I think right now we have Reclaimers and Caterpillars, one of the few that I've seen. But they're also now going to be adding stuff like, I think I saw 600 Eyes and lots of other ships going to be added as well. And all of these ships is going to be able to be in one of 4 different states, basically showing how recently that ship has crashed. So you can either get them where they was just recently crashed onto the planet, they're still on fire, there might still be sections of the ship where the power is still running, they basically just crashed like hours ago. So you can go out to these crash sites, you can find them, if there's a mission going to it, go investigate it. Then you have the crashed version where they have crashed, the fires are out, so it's maybe a few days now. So that also means the power has probably been died since, well, the power plant has probably been destroyed, so no more power, but also no more fires on the ship. Then you have the overgrown, where the nature around the area is beginning to take over. So if you are in a biome with a lot of green around you, there'll probably be vines growing in and out of the, like moss begins to grow on the outside of the ship, maybe some surface rust beginning to happen. Or if you're in a cold environment, maybe like snow drifts are beginning to build up around the craft. I don't know, it depends on the biome, but here nature is slowly beginning to take over. And final, the last state is harvested, where the ship has basically been stripped down. A lot of the outer hull plating will be gone. There will just be the skeleton, like the inner structure left of the ship. Exactly what this is going to mean in terms of the loot available at the sites, they didn't really dive into too much detail with it, but I'm expecting that if you go to a ship that's in the on fire state, so it very recently crashed, that you're going to be more likely to find rare loot. Whereas if you get to a ship that's fully harvested, there's probably not that much left. But that's interesting. I like this approach. I think it's going to add for some very interesting gameplay, that you can go and look for these crashed ships and then hopefully find something recent. So there's still a lot of good loot for you to go and pick up. And with the new salvaging gameplay coming in, maybe that's also an opportunity to go and find these crashed ships on surfaces, strip the hull away from them, and take that with you back and sell for profit. So lots of opportunities for really cool gameplay with update 3.19. But that's not the only thing that's going to happen in update 3.19. They're also going to give Lorville a facelift. Lorville being one of the older landing zones, and they're going to make some changes to it. Mostly, I think the interior of the city is going to stay relatively the same. That's at least my understanding. But it's more the visual of the city when you're flying around it. They're moving away from the area where around the cities there's a lot of no-fly zones. If you go in, you get blown up, you go too close. They're trying to move away from that approach, which I like, allowing us to go down and explore the cities. So they're going to add basically like pathways between buildings. So you're going to have high buildings with like canyons in between almost, where you can go and you can fly down there and explore the cities. So like trenches, there's going to be tunnels and cranes going over. Lorville is this very industrial looking city, so there's going to be cranes and things you can fly under and stuff, so you can really go and explore the city from a spaceship, which I think is really awesome. They're going to add a lot of landing pads on top of the buildings in much the same way as we saw as we already see on Microtech. For those who've been running box missions will know that you'll often be sent out to Microtech with a box. You land on some rooftop somewhere and you go in and you deliver it. Basically a mailman. They're going to do the same thing over in Lorville, so we're going to have the option to go and do those type of missions in Lorville as well. The overall footprint of the city is going to be expanded significantly. But with the expansion of the city, there's also going to be some slight changes to the city transit system, where you drive around on the train systems. They said a lot of the travels inside the main part of the city, travel times is going to be almost the same. They talked about how they experimented with different positions for the spaceport, and they ended up with it almost in the same position as it is today. I think they moved it like a few hundred meters or something like that. So travel times to the inner, the places inside the city is going to be pretty much the same, but you can see longer travel times if you want to go out to the outskirts, because as we said, the city has expanded, and especially the outskirts has moved out a bit. So that means that travel times out to the outskirts is going to be slightly longer if you take the city transit. So for the live stream tomorrow, I'll be diving into Elite Dangerous, and we're going to be playing around with some of the new toys that we got. So we got a lot of new things. We got this new weapon stabilizer, at least one of the 2 variants has been added, and also a new Xeno scanner that allows us to scan longer ranges, and out to 2 kilometers actually. So I'm going to be building some builds, focusing on some of these new modules. I have a thing in mind. I don't want to spoil too much now, but I have a thing in mind that I want to go and try to play around with. I haven't really, it's going to be a very no prep live stream. I haven't really prepped anything like made a build beforehand. We're going to go and play around with it, do some quick tests and see what we can come up with. I'm going to explain it more detail tomorrow, but if it's going to be focusing around some more anti-Xeno ships, because I have a thing that I really want to make work, and I tried it before Frontier announced all these new modules. It's like, this kind of works, but it don't really have the firepower for what I wanted to do. And then Frontier comes out and announces, hey, and you can now fit more weapons, and you have better Xeno scanners. So the two main problems I had with the build was that it was difficult to scan the Darkoids because of the 500-meter range, and I didn't have enough firepower. So Frontier just solved those two problems for me. So I'm going to make some changes to this for some builds there, and we're going to see what happens then. But that's all going to be tomorrow, and as always, it's going to be 8 o'clock in-game time, and it's going to be live streamed on YouTube and on Twitch. And remember, there's of course is Twitch drops as well. So if you haven't gotten your paint jobs yet, then you can go and get those for the Twitch drops. And I'm just checking how much time there's left, because I'm also giving away the paint jobs over on the Discord server in the stream giveaway channel. And there is currently, at the time of, yes, you have just enough time. There's 2 days left now. I'm recording this Sunday. That means when this video goes out, there should be 1 day left, where you go over to Discord, to my Discord server. It's at discord.d2a.com, and there you can sign up for the giveaway, and then you have a chance of winning yourself a paint job pack with all the 4 special new paint jobs that you can get for Elite Dangerous, for the Asp Explorer, Anaconda, Python, and Cobra Mark III. But that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching, and also next time, I'll see you guys in space.